Love them or hate them, mega menus are a sad necessity that we just have to accept, and sometimes you need them and sometimes you should avoid them. And how to build them can be somewhat tricky, but not as hard as you're thinking. And we're going to take a look at that all in this video, an introduction to mega menus. And we're going to get started right after this. Brick School is sponsoring a 50% off sale for both BricsBits and BricsFX. BricsBits gives you professional, easy-to-use templates, and BricsFX gives you easy-to-use, subtle animation classes that take your project to the next level. This is a limited-time offer, and your purchase helps Brick School keep going. Links are in the description. All right, guys, so mega menus. Let's just first, before we even look at them, let's talk about why you would need them, okay? One of the first reasons that you're going to need to use a mega menu is if you have a big ass site and you're trying to make it easier to navigate. A good site design, you should be able to get around the entire site in about 3 clicks, all right? I try and do it in 2 because I'm lazy, and especially with mobile, but mobile's not really, if you're trying to plan your site for mobile, you should not be thinking about a mega menu, all right? Now, who should be thinking about a mega menu? Again, really big sites, organizations like churches and brands that have a lot of information that needs to be, obtained by the end user quickly. These are the kind of things. Who should not be using them? If you are a local lawnmower company or lawn maintenance company, I should say, or something, some small little company, your typical little mom and pop shop, they don't need them. If you have under 10, actually, personally, I would say if you have under 20 pages, you probably don't need a mega menu. However, there is some exception to this rule, and we're going to take a look at these examples now, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so let's take a look at some examples. The first is a little brand you may have heard of, Nike, and I have to admit, I think it was a couple of years ago I heard about this mega menu by them, and everybody was, oh, look, it's a mega menu, and I was like, who gives a damn? But, it's still considered a great mega menu. And I think it's because of its subtlety. Check this out. So you have your mans, your new, and you could kind of see, okay, in the new, my highlights, my trending, the men's section, the women's section. And if you notice, these two are the same. You have your shoes, your clothing, your sports, and all these links are the same. So why do they duplicate it? Because they've already filtered half of their items out. They know now that you're looking for a certain gender, or there's also kids and sports, let's say football, they can customize your experience in 1 click. That's really, really powerful, all right? So that's one example. A second example is this one here. I really like this one. Doesn't work for all sites, to be sure. But if you need a visual, you've got these nice little images. But the other thing that I think is really cool, and I'm not going to show in this video, I'll be showing in the next video or the next couple of videos, they have worked in interactions with it. So, if I need the digital tech one, or the equipment, or the services, it's all right here under, I hit my mic there. It's all right here under, your solutions. And that's really cool. And then markets we serve, you can quickly see, they use a visual thing. Now, these are a couple obviously different layouts, but they're still following the same idea, right? So that's the next one. The very last one, and this is the one we're going to recreate because I think this one is just a great starter one, and it has a couple of little fun things that I thought, oh yay, that'd be great to show. So this is the one we're going to recreate today. Really basic. You have your menu here. You click. down it comes. Now we're not going to bother with the down thing because that's a slightly different. And I don't want to, I don't want to muddy the waters too much. I want to keep focused on the fact that we're just building a mega menu, right? But the great thing about this one is that it has a couple of cool things. One, it's on click. So instead of just your mouse over, which sometimes can create a kind of jerky experience. In fact, let's go back here and you'll see what I mean. Like, if you're, especially with this angled line, and this is where you got to be careful with the mega menus. They can help and they can hinder, So, I like the on-click thing. The other thing I like is that it kind of gives you an introduction to all the pages below that. And then I think it has just a couple of cool interactions where, when you put your mouse over it, you can actually see this button. And I thought, why not? Well, that doesn't really have to do with mega menus, but it is a cool thing, and I thought we'd look at it. All right, so pitter patter, let's get at her. We have our test site. It's fugly as hell, but it'll do for this reason. Let's edit the header here, and I'm just going to quickly kind of get this ready to be done. The first thing I'm going to do, we're going to need a slight bit more padding. So instead of space S, let's go space M. Don't know why I did that. There we go. So we'll do that. Also, what we're going to do is we're going to change the background, and we will change it to something dark. I don't really care what. And for this, we're going to give this container a little bit of padding. And you'll see why in a bit, but, let's go ahead and actually just give it I'm using Brick Styler here, but we'll just give it some M all the way around. And now we've got a nice thing. Let's give it a background color so we can actually see it. We'll do our primary color. And lastly, to kind of match, we shall round it. So we'll just go down and don't know where okay, into our radiuses, and there you go. So now we have our radiuses, and basically this is let me just close these other two examples. Basically I'm copying this here a little. They kind of have a bit more space there, so maybe I'll up it with them. So we'll go L here, and we'll go L there. All right, so that gives us a little bit more space. Now we have a drop down here, which is just, this is just your basic nestable nav, nothing special about it. And that's it. We're ready to rock. So, the very first thing, obviously, we're going to need to do is to create a mega menu, turn this into a mega menu. And I tell you what, let's even keep with theirs. We're going to move this drop down right to the first. And I'm even going to copy it a couple of times just so it roughly looks like theirs, and we don't actually need this. I'm actually pressing Command and Delete to quickly delete these things I don't need, these elements I don't need. All right, so now we've got our drop down, and we will call this Mega Menu. All right. We're doing smashing. Let's keep it moving. This mega menu here, how do you get it to become a mega menu? You come here and you turn on mega menu and you click enable, and that's it. Now you got yourself a mega menu, and let me assure you, my friend, it is the ugliest thing you've ever seen. We'll go to the home page, and I did it this way so that you could kind of see. In fact, let me just quickly, because I can see a problem that's going to come up. Let's change this wrapper. I should say this container. Let's change the background to something a little, there we go. We'll do that. All right. So there we are. Now we've got our drop down and our mega menu, but what the hell? It's everywhere. It's taking up the whole width, which, sometimes that looks all right, but not so much. I'm not a fan. I'm just saying. So how do you get it? If you look at theirs, let's take a look. You can see that it's matching up with their header, And if we take a look at our site, let me just move this over here so it's more logical. And I will go ahead and we'll just take a look real quick here. On this container, you can see that Bricks always puts this BRXE container. All right, and that's your container width. Makes sense, right? The BRXE is just the Bricks element. Maybe that is what the E stands for. I don't know. It used to be just BRX, I believe, but now it's BRXE and it's container. All right, then. We're going to need to know that. And if you noticed, and maybe I didn't say I was doing it, I'm going to copy it because I hate typing on screen. So I've copied it now. I've got my drop down. What was all that about? What it's about is, let's go down to, I'm in the wrong thing here. I knew that was going to happen. Let's close that. All right. So now we're in the mega menu. We see that we've enabled the mega menu. It is kind of working. Okay. But it's also not working. It's too wide. So how do we get it? Now, you have some CSS selectors where you can limit its height and its width or whatever. I haven't quite figured out why they did it this way, to be very honest. Although, to be very honest, I haven't spent a ton of time with the mega menus because I personally just don't use them. But figured it out. So here's how it works. If you put in your container and go ahead and, I guess it does help if I tell it that is I'm having a lot of trouble with Bricks lately. I don't know what's going on. All right, let's go ahead and save that. And if I come back to the site, we'll refresh that. And it's still not working. So why is that? I can't quite remember. I think what you do is maybe you don't take. Wait a sec. I do remember. I think I've been doing this every damn time. It's a class, not I don't know why. I keep thinking probably because the rest of them is ID. So make sure you use the class, which is a period, not the hashtag. So, there we go. Now we have it kind of working. You can see it. And I tell you what, just to kind of explain or show what is really happening here, I'm going to go ahead and set the background, and we'll set the background color to really dark. Okay. Just because I want you to be able to see it. So now let's go to the front of the site. We'll refresh. Now you can see what's happening. All right. It is coming in, but it's a little too high. It's a little too everything. It's not right, let alone the actual content sucks, but I'm not too worried about the content right now. So let's go ahead and change it to the primary so that it matches the top. And if you notice, there's other ways you can do this. You can kind of go through you can go through your top level and all this, and it's such a pain in the ass. They really need one source of truth for this, but that's another subject. This is how I do it, and I've had pretty good success so far with it. So on my content, which is the wrapper for this mega menu, okay, I am going to obviously give it some padding, get everything off the wall. So we'll just go and we'll give it a space M. There we go. Nice padding. But if you notice, I'm cutting off my logo there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a little space S, and that just kind of pushes it down a little. However, that might be a little too far because if you notice here, let's check the front of the site. Okay, it's kind of matching, but you can kind of see the little corner there. I definitely don't want that. So, you could tune it in and that's, truthfully in this case, you may want to, use a set value instead of using your framework, but, that's debatable. Okay, so we have now got our mega menu that's sitting over top of our container, and it's looking pretty decent, good enough. Actually, I'm not really happy with that. I'm still oh, I don't think I refreshed it. There we go. Yeah, I hadn't refreshed it. I was like, what the hell? Okay. So now we've got the nice sides. It looks like it's coming down. You know what I mean? It's good. We'll stick with that. So now to give the illusion that this is one item, what we can do is we can simply on this container, we'll go to the border. We will go to our border and we're going to, on the bottom corners, we're going to give it that same radius, which I believe was L. Yeah, it was L. All right, so radius L and bammo. There we go. We've got basically the same thing that they have. We now have this little kind of, drop down thing. Okay, so now let's go back and look what they have. And I always want you to picture in your head when you look at something. This is the most important thing. If I teach you one thing in this bloody brick school thing, it's this. When you look at it, I want you to start cutting it up in your head, okay? So here, I have a box. That's just going to be a block. We're going to have a centered header, centered text, and a button. So let's go ahead and create that in our content container, okay? So what I'll do is Control-Shift-E or Command-Shift-E, depending on which operating system you're on, and we're going to put in a block, and inside of that block, we are going to, again, Control-Shift-E, we're going to need a heading, and Control-Shift-E, we're going to need basic text, and there we are, and on this block, we're going to center it. The heading, I'm horrible for this. Always remember to go and center your heading, and the reason is when you get on mobile, if you haven't, it's going to be left aligned, and it's going to look stupid, and do the same thing on your basic text. And let's just see, what did they say? Discover... I'd be really lazy here. Discover. And then we'll just steal their text. Can't believe any site would use a double M anymore. Thanks to ChatGPT, I think it's the worst bloody... Oh, what did I do? Worst bloody thing out there. All right. Good enough. Oh. That was weird. Okay, so little too wide. I know what you're thinking. So what we're going to do, we're going to go in here and set the character width to probably 20 characters. Oh, probably not 20 characters. 40 characters. And let's get rid of these two links. I love this. Hold down Shift and select two things. I mean, if you select one thing, hold down Shift, you can select multiple. But in this case, I only had two. And there you go. Again, with the Command or Control Delete. All right. Best keyboard shortcuts you can learn. All right. So we have our block, which is the header block. So let's actually call it that, the header block. And one last thing we need is a button. I don't really love using the button element, but I will. Okay, good enough. And for this, little too tight here. You can see that they've kept theirs fairly tight, but there's no padding whatsoever. So on this block, we're just going to go to our row gap and let's keep it fairly tight. In fact, let's even go XS. Yeah, does help if I'm not illiterate. Okay, XS. There we are. All right, so that gives us our nice thing. And I'm not going to bother, I'm not trying to recreate down to the down to the pixel here. I'm not going to bother setting the buttons and stuff. I assume y'all have seen my other videos or anybody else's videos. You know how to make a button, right? I do find this button is a little big, and I don't usually use this. And in fact, tell you what, let's make it dark and let's make it small. And because I'm really being lazy, we'll even make it round just like theirs, okay? And what's their button say? See all. All right, sure, why not? See all. All right, so there we go. Now we have, boom, see all. And, when you click off of it, it goes away in the builder. When you click into it, it shows. So you don't have to really do like the mobile where you have to click like, hey, show me that. Now you don't really have to. All right, so that's it. We've got the header block down. Now we're going to need a new block. And in fact, we're going to put it inside this content. And there's a little trick. This saves your ass a ton of time. Pick the parent content before you insert something in. So here, if I had inserted it here, it would have gone inside of this header block, but I don't want it to. I want it to be below. So I picked the parent, the content. And now, again, Command-Shift-E, and we're going to put in a block. And there it is. And now you got your block. And we will call this our wrapper. Although, yeah, well, now that I started typing it, we'll call it the wrapper. All right. So these are our sections, and we're ready to go. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. So we're going to need 5 blocks, but we're going to just do one block originally. And again, we'll Control-Shift-D and block. Oops. Block. And now we have a block. And let's call this card because it's going to be a card. And for this wrapper, let's call this card wrapper. And this card wrapper is going to be a grid, all right? So we're going to make it a grid, and we're going to give it a space M for the gap. Now, I have been showing just using Brick Styler, so you can just go grid 5, and, it works. And if you look, when you see the grid 5, you could see how it's actually doing it, what the code it's actually making. But if you don't have anything, if you're just starting out and you want to keep it simple, one frame. There you go. There's a 5-frame, card. And you can't really see it because there's only one card, but trust me, this is 1/5. So, you can do it either way. Probably better not to do it that way. So let's just go back and we'll go grid 5 and some space. And there you are. Bob's your uncle. Now in your card, what are we going to need? We are going to need to insert an image. And in that image, in that card, we're also going to need, I'm going to do a basic text. Let's go basic. And, oh yeah, that button. Tell you what, I hadn't actually really planned this out, so I'm not exactly sure how they did it, but I'm going to take a guess here, and let's first put in a block, and that'll be kind of our button wrapper, and then a button. Now you see what I mean. This went under that parent, so now I have to put it under here. We'll call this a button wrapper. Okay, and we have our card, our image, our basic text, and our button wrapper with our button. This is going smashing. All right, so for the image, we need to select the image. I have not uploaded these images yet, but I did borrow them from their website. Okay, and there you go. We've got our first image. And let's see, what was the text on that? Top 7 things to do in Turkey in a day. In Turku in a day. I don't know. Cool. So we'll just put the text in there. Now, again, I'm not matching theirs because I'm just trying to show you roughly how they did it. The sizings are not going to match. I think I've got my site width set to 1,000. Clearly, they're set to at least 1,600, maybe 1,800. So there's going to be bigger, but I'm showing you the general gist of it. All right. So there you go. Now we have that. Let's set this button here to be hidden, and actually I'm gonna do classes on this one because it is the way you should do it anyway. But even for this example, because I'm going to have to play around with it when it's all done, we're going to need it. Okay. So here we'll call this, mega menu. What is this? Card wrapper. Not a great naming, thing here, but that's okay. We'll call this mega menu image. Mega menu text. I just want to make sure that my mic is working here. Mega menu button wrapper. Okay, and mega menu button. Just so that I can edit all this stuff later without goofing around, because I'm about to duplicate this off. So here's our card. We're going to duplicate it 4 times so that we have 5 cards. Bada boom. There you go. Son of a bitch. See, this is why I did this. I forgot to make this hidden. All right. So for display, we're going to go none. Make sure. Watch. This is why. For those of you that maybe don't use classes, I want to show you why. See, I go none, and this one disappears, but none of those. Why? Because I did it on the ID level, all right? So we're going to select the class and then do it on the son of a bitch. Then do it on, and boom, they all go away, and life's good again. I did see a problem there, but you know what? Let's not even worry about it right now. Okay, so the first thing that I'm seeing is the card wrapper and the other wrapper. There's no space between. We're going to want a nice visual space. So let's put a row gap and see, because let me minimize here. This is why I put everything in a nice pretty little box. Now we've got our header up here. We've got our thing. We can just go here, put in a row gap, and I'm guessing it's a space M, but you could, if you wanted more visual, you could do a space L. So let's go ahead and change that. We'll go space L, and there you go. So now all we have to do is, let's see what we got. We got naked dude, old dude, sleeping girl. All right. So let's just change these out. Naked dude, old dude, I'm one to talk, sleeping girl, and the remaining one. All right, there we go. So let's just go ahead and change the text real fast. There we go. So now we've got the text. We've got everything. We've got everything. Oh, by the way, I suppose we should take a look, make sure this is working good. We'll go ahead and refresh this. Bam! Look at that. And you know what? I was going to do, I just saw the time on this. I was going to show you how to do the interactions for the mouse over, but I think it'd just make this video too long. So I'm going to keep it a little shorter. And I tell you what, let's just actually go back here, and we will grab this card wrapper. We'll take this button wrapper. Let's just go ahead and display the button. And on this card, actually with the button wrapper, because I didn't put the container in the thing, I'm going to have to give my margin here, and we'll just give, I don't know, space M. Okay. I want to make these buttons smaller. Now, again, I don't typically like using the button thing, but that's all right. What I love about bricks now is I can select multiple things, and I can say, hey, I want all of these to be small. Now, this is not an excuse not to use classes, all right? You still got to use classes. This is because on these, it's all always on the ID level. Let's go ahead and just to make this look the same, we'll give it circles and I think you can even do the text. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, you can. That's awesome. You kids don't know when we started with bricks years ago, you don't even know we had to go one element at a time. You got it so lucky nowadays. All right. So there we are. Boom. And you've got yourself a mega menu. All right. Now, let's take a quick punch at trying to make this mobile friendly. Okay. So, we come here, we go to our first drop down, we go, oh shit, that doesn't look great, man. Now, I'm not even going to worry about the other stuff, although we can quickly hit it. But let's just go to our navigation and our nestable, and let's keep this open while going to align our content to the center. Okay, so what we're going to want to do here is we're going to want to add padding, and for whatever reason, I don't know, it's really ridiculous how they have this set up. I don't know who this makes sense to, but for whatever reason, this is how they do it, and you know, I come in here, I give it my row gap, and that's how I set my spacing. The only problem is that even when, you know, that just put that on the desktop setting, and I don't like that, you know. Okay, so now we are going to go back to mobile, and we'll open that up. And now when we go drop down, it's basically working again. It's so stupid. I don't know why it does this. I'm going to do, honestly, my next video is about doing responsive mobile menus. And because, like I say, every single time, because you only do it once per site on your header, every single time I'm left scratching my head going, what the hell? Like, you know, it's ridiculous the way that they do it. So, it is what it is. Let's just get through this. The thing that we're here talking about is the mega menu. So let's get that looking good. Now, the nice thing is for the mega menus, this is actually a hell of a lot easier, because once you're inside of that content container, you're good as gold, man. You can go and, you know, this card wrapper, we don't really have to do anything with this header because it's a simple straight up container. But this block here, nice thing is that, you know, you can just set your content like it's a regular thing. So here, what we're going to do is make sure that you're down at your, you know, whatever setting you have your mobile menu to kick in on. See, so here it's coming in at mobile landscape. So we're going to go to mobile landscape. And for this content box, you know, right now you can't actually see it because unfortunately it's goofing up, but we'll unenable it, enable it. Nope, still not working. I don't know why. However, we know that the card wrapper is wrong here. It should be a grid 1. So we're going to come down here and go grid 1, and we'll save that. And for whatever reason, inside the builder, it's just acting goofy. So let's go ahead and refresh. And we do the drop down, and there you go. It's working, you know. And, you know, surely you would want to give it a different padding. So you would come in here, and this is not going to be fun because it's just not working. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's actually glitching now. It could be because of my recording software. I don't think so. I do find the header menu stuff to be a little goofy at times. Okay. But there it is. And so we have our mega menu, we have our content, and in our wrapper, what we're going to do is we are going to change our gap, because I find that to be a little too small on the mobile. So we'll do that. And now if I refresh, okay, and now you can see that the mega menu is, a little more proper. Now, truthfully, I would spend more time and resize that, but this isn't really about mobile. We're just trying to show you how, or I'm trying to show you how to make a mega menu, and there you go. So that is how it's done. I will, like I say, in the next one, when we actually get to looking at how to doing responsive headers, I'm gonna make this a lot better. But in the meantime, you get the rough idea of how it's done. All right, guys. So we hit a few snags there at the end. Unfortunately, the Bricks is still a work in progress, and this is why. This is why I get a little frustrated when I hear everybody talking about, this new builder that hasn't even been released yet. It's the next coming of Christ. No, it's not. It takes time. It takes time to work these things out. They've done a great job. There's still a few bugs. I could be doing something wrong. I don't know. I'm not infallible. I'm just saying, if I'm doing something wrong, it's not very intuitive. It definitely has a little lumps in when you get to working in the responsive area, but on the desktop, it's solid AF. Just a little buggy still on the tail end, all right? So there it is. I hope this video helps. And like I said, watch for the next video, not the next video, but upcoming video here. We're going to do the other kind where we saw the interactions working inside of the mega menu. All right? Okay, guys, have yourself a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.